Alright, being real trendy in today's video. Hey everybody, Tekking here, and in today's Class 1A discussion, we will be delving into Denki Kaminari, also known as the stun gun hero, Charge Bolt. I was gonna get an actual stun gun for the video, but then I just kinda didn't, so, I have this electric lighter, though. It's sorta like a stun gun. I mean, if you got touched by that, it would probably hurt a little bit. I'm not gonna try it out, but, you know. Also, we got this thing. Yay, science, right? Okay, anyway, what to say about Denki Kaminari? Well, just from his aesthetic, the way he's drawn, the way he dresses, his quirk, he's cool. He's the cool kid, or I guess he's the trendy kid, I guess the way to say it. He wears the cool black jackets, he's got this electric little streak in his hair, he has electricity quirk, which is really just awesome, just covering your bases. Like I said, with any sort of, like, superhero fiction, whether it be a comic book, a manga, video game, movie, no matter what it is, you gotta come up with some clever ideas for powers, right? You can't just keep it all basic, but you also have to kind of cover all the really simple ones, like the elements, like Bakugo has the explosion quirk, Todoroki kind of covers that fire and ice in one package, wind, there's the character that was just introduced in the anime that has the power of the wind quirk, so maybe I should make a discussion video about him. I think most people would be okay with that. We don't really know much about him, but I think I know enough to make a video about the guy. Yeah, even if that's taking a break from this, maybe I'll do that. We'll see where that goes. Make a video about the Wind Kid. But, yeah, Kaminari is the Electric Kid. He has the powers of four on high! He is worthy to be the gods of all! Yeah, okay. It's not quite as epic as that, because if Horikoshi had it where he could just rain down divine judgment of, like, Zeus, where, like, villains attack and all Kaminari has to do is just snap his fingers and, like, electrical bolts fall from the sky and shock all the villains, and just, you know, he takes up his shades, just like, there you go, and then just walks away. That'd be a little bit too broken, a little bit too overpowered, so, he does basically have that ability. It's called his Indiscriminate Shock, and it's the only power that we've really seen him use, the only named technique we see him use, because he's still learning how to control his quirk. He doesn't really have a lot of precision, so he just builds up a bunch of electricity inside of his body, and then just in one go, he's just Indiscriminate Shock 1.5 million volts, and just BAM! And just big wave of electricity shocks friend and foe alike, unless they're protected by some sort of, like, insulation cloth. So, hey, I mean, he's going to UA to learn how to control his quirk. It's a great quirk, very viable to become a hero, or possibly a villain, because he might be a traitor. Oh, man! Really big frog in my throat there, sorry. By the way, can we get Suyu on the next one? I'm kind of in a Suyu mood, so when I roll the D20, I'm hoping we get Sue. I'm hoping we get number 3. Okay, so just hold on for that. But anyway, yeah, so that's the only attack he's got, right? And it really isn't that great, because if you're fighting in any capacity with your friends or your allies around you, you can't use it. Even in situations where it was a one-on-one fight, Kaminari thinks he's basically invincible, because the way he figures it is, like, his quirk is insanely powerful, and it is. However, there are ways to counter it. For example, if you're some quirk that also has electricity, like that villain at the USJ, they can nullify it. Also, if there's anything that involves, you know, the natural enemy of electricity, any sort of, like, grounding, or, like, electricity can't travel through easily, you get defeated. So he went up against that girl with the vine hair, I forget her name, from Class 1B at the Sports Fest, and Kaminari's just kind of, well, first he's kind of, like, you know, checking her out, like, oh man, she's actually pretty cute, I should ask her out after this. And so they step into the ring at the Sports Fest, and Kaminari, I'm sure, was thinking to himself, he's like, okay, I'm not gonna hold anything back, but if it's a one-on-one fight, I got this, because I'll just send out a huge indiscriminate shock, and even if it, you know, short-circuits my brain, which is the drawback, he kind of goes into his moron form, or his stupid form, because whenever he discharges the electricity or uses it in a prolonged amount of time, he's just like, hey guys, how you doing? Plus Ultra, right? So he can't really fight in that condition afterwards, he's just kind of a simpleton, but he figures, okay, I'm just gonna discharge this electricity, finish off this girl, move on to the next round, and then maybe I'll get a hot date after it. So he steps in and he's like, this'll be over in 2 seconds, honey, and then discharges, but this girl had the ability of the vine quirk. It had her hair turn into vines, so she just makes a wall of vines. The electricity can't pass through that. plants and like vines and stuff are filled with water, so I question why they couldn't have traveled through that. But she also sends it through the ground, so maybe that was like grounded, like the electricity can't travel. At any rate, he discharges all his electricity, he turns into a simpleton, and then just gets knocked out of the arena, and then he fails at that point. So a little bit of a cocky attitude, a little bit of an arrogance about him, especially since he's really not all that bright, even without his short-circuiting little problem. He ranked the lowest in the entire class on the written exam for the end of semester test. He ranked 20th out of a class of 20 kids. Okay, so I don't know if this is just because maybe he doesn't study very often, or he pays too much attention to his wardrobe, or looking cool, or looking trendy. Look at the kid's room. All the other students looked at it and just like, oh man, it looks like you just bought anything you could get your hands on. It kind of looks like a Five Below store. If you've ever been into like Five Below, or maybe kind of like Hot Topic to a certain extent, where you just walk in and there's this shit plastered all over the wall into like a mishmash pattern. That's what Kaminari's room looks like. But to Kaminari, he thinks it looks cool. He's like, what are you talking about? It's the best room ever. I got headphones and hats and all these cool like dresser drawers, and I got license plates. Come on, guys, this is really cool, right? So hey, whatever makes him happy. But maybe you should be hitting the books, Kaminari, instead of just trying to look really cool or trendy. I knew kids like that in school, kids that paid more attention to appearance rather than anything else. And then here's a little tip for you: once you get out of high school, that whole appearance thing, nobody cares. I act like this pretty much in public. I don't exactly dress like this in public, but I act like this in public. So yeah, that's the kind of kid he is. He represents that aspect of being a teenager, whereas Tokoyami represented the whole, you know, like 8th grade syndrome, you know, like the darkness of my soul is the light of my being, or some bullshit emo poetry like that. Kaminari represents the trendy, popular kid that always has to be ahead of everything in school. Okay, so we actually don't really get to see him a lot at like the front lines during the series. The first time he showed up was during the battle trial, when everybody was, you know, splitting off. That's when we first saw what his quirk could do and everything. He was teamed up with Jiro, and that kind of sets us on their little fan-shipping adventure. I already addressed this in Jiro's video, but now we're finally getting to the point in these discussions where I'm like, okay, I talked about something in this video, now I can relate it to this video. It's like when we get to Deku's video, I can bring up stuff related from Bakugo's, or Todoroki's, I can reference things from Bakugo's. Everything kind of comes back to Bakugo. When we get to Uraraka, I'll go back to Bakugo's. But yeah, so Jiro and Kaminari, they seem to be the couple. They have like a sort of, I don't know, a cute way they play off each other, especially in one of the latest episodes when they were showing the dorms, when Bakugo shook down Kaminari and he went all simpleton. You had Jiro off to the side, like, laughing hysterically, just like, oh my god, that's such a cute look for you. So, I can kind of see these two getting together, unless something happens. What this something would be, I have no idea, but we'll get to that theory. Just to be straight up, in case you haven't heard about it and you're sitting there wondering, like, why am I being so weird? So Kaminari is usually the popular pick for being the traitor. Okay, and there's a lot of evidence to support this. I'm not going to go over everything. And to be fair, when I was doing this, I knew that Kaminari was always considered to be the traitor by a lot of people on in the fandom. So I went and did some like quick and dirty research over on Reddit, and I even had to delve into 4chan, which, but yeah, I got some stuff to address, to present, but this isn't nearly all of it. So I would really suggest, like, if the stuff I'm gonna say isn't good enough for you, maybe you should delve into and look into the evidence yourself. But yeah, the general consensus is if the traitor at UA turns out to be a student, not a teacher, if it turns out to be a student, it's most likely going to be Kaminari, and there's plenty of ways where that would be cool if he was the traitor. It just kind of makes sense, or looks cool from like an aesthetic point of view. So we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, Jiro and him teamed up at the battle trial, and that's where we got to see him. Oh, he has the electrical powers. Okay. The first time he really got to shine was at USJ, where we mostly focused on like Mineta and Tsuyu, Momo, Jiro, and Kaminari on top of like Izuku and Bakugo. Like those are the ones we were focusing on in that arc to really find out what their powers were. And so Jiro, Momo, and Kaminari were in the mountain zone, and they got attacked by a group of villains, and that's when Kaminari was like, you know, they're telling them, like, oh, just use your electrical quirk to electrocute all of them and make them pass out or whatever, screw up their nervous system. And Kaminari's like, you know, I can do that, sure, but I can only discharge an amount of electricity. I can't control where it goes, so you guys would be affected too. That's why Momo has to, like, rip off her shirt and create the insulation cloth in order to protect her and Jiro while Kaminari discharges. And even then, it's not good enough, because there was another villain that already had an electrical quirk. Keep in mind, this is not, like, a very unique thing, and so if it's, like, one electrical quirk versus another, there's, like, an inherent resistance to that. Kind of like in Pokemon, you know? You have to play by your field, you know? Using, you know, throwing out Pikachu and using Thunderbolt against a Flaffy isn't probably going to be all that effective, you know what I mean? Okay, but here's the other thing, and just correct me on this. I am not an electrician, okay? Not really my field of expertise, but from what I understand, right, when Kaminari uses his indiscriminate shock, he specifies the voltage. He's like 1.5 million volts, indiscriminate shock, okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the voltage is merely the speed of the current, correct? Right? It doesn't really have anything to do with the power, the strength behind it, if that makes sense. I don't know if power and strength are the right words to use in this context, but yeah, it's just merely the speed. So if the current doesn't have enough amps, if it's just like really high number in voltage but really low number in amps, it really wouldn't affect you all that much. Am I correct in that? I thought it was the amps that are the things that are actually going to kill you, or what matter when actually dealing damage to something. Like, if, and I hear it's not very much either. It's like less than like 1/1000th of an amp. If that passes right through the human heart, it could stop your heart. You could die just with that small amount, but it has to pass like right through. So, the voltage sounds really cool, because it's like a really high number, like 1.5 million volts, like, holy shit, 1.5 million volts, nothing could survive that! But then you actually start to think, like, no, I think it's just the speed, I really don't know, but correct me if I'm wrong on this, and I love the fact that I have such a large audience, because there's always going to be someone in the comments, it doesn't matter how much research I do, there's always going to be someone down in the comments that are going to be like, alright, Tekking, I'm an electrician, let me tell you what's up with this. Okay, here you go, this is the difference between volts and amps. So, you know, leave that, and I'll read through them, and I'll heart them if the ones that are the one I'm looking for. I love my fans. But anyway, okay, so that's the situation with that. They managed to take out the villains, except for the one that has the electrical quirk, and that gives them some problems, but Momo and Jiro fight back. Eventually, I think it's Snipe is the one that saves them at the mountain zone, and everything's chill, okay? After that, we have the Sports Fest, where Kaminari does make it to the final rounds, the individual battles. They team up at the cavalry battle, and they manage to succeed, so he goes on to fight against the girl from Class 1B with the vine hair. He fails because of his arrogance and things, and he doesn't really... Honestly, Kaminari seems like the kid to me, where he focuses so much on being trendy and cool, he doesn't even bother thinking about ways he could develop his quirk, right? Because it's weird. You have an electrical quirk, and you've had it your whole life, and the only way that you really know how to use it is just build up electricity and boom! Yeah, that'll get me by in the life. That'll get me by as a hero. That'll win life. Seems kind of weird, doesn't it? Seems kind of strangely weird. Like, either Kaminari is really just that stupid, which is possible, or it's an act. Because you'd figure having this electrical... If you were born with natural electrical abilities, I can understand when maybe you were a little kid, you know, you couldn't control it very well, but by the time you're entering high school, by the time you're 15, 16 years old, you've really not thought of any, or even sought out a way to use your quirk in any other way other than just the big discharge. Like, I know in the world of My Hero Academia, you can't just go around and use your quirk wherever. I mean, it's restrictions are placed on you unless you are a hero, but there's certainly places you can go to at least have better control of your quirk, because people shouldn't be walking around with really dangerous quirks and having no idea on how to manipulate them or control them, so there has to be at least a way to, like, this special, like the YMCA of the My Hero Academia universe or something, where you can go and it's like a safe location where you can learn how to hone your quirks, kind of like a quirk gym. Not sure if a place like that exists, but it would make sense if it did, just to have better manipulation and control of it so you're not, like, blowing stuff up by accident, or, in Kaminari's case, accidentally, like, picking up something and, you know, sending shockwaves into somebody's arm or something, you know, like that, you know? So, it's weird, that's the only thing he really knows how to do, and later on, during the provisional license exam, he gets a modification to his costume. His costume beforehand wasn't really much of anything, it was really just the cool jacket and the white shirt. He he had like the headphone radio thing attachment with the antenna, and he could actually use his quirk to use it as like sending out transmissions. So he could like just send an electrical current through this like receiver or this transmitter, and then other people could receive it on their phones or walkie-talkies or whatever, like, hey, everybody's dead, you should probably get down here. So it's a very handy communication-based quirk in order, if you're a hero, to send out signals to other heroes to get them to, you know, gather, like, oh, bank robbery at 6th and Main, get down here now. You know, that would be pretty cool to have, right? Okay, but after the Sports Fest, not really much more from Kaminari, and he doesn't really participate in the battle with Stain or anything at all, not until the end of semester exam, where he does the worst on the written portion, and him and Ashido also fail the practical portion. So him and Ashido go up against Principal Nezu. Once again, Kaminari's extremely arrogant kind of attitude, where he just thinks like, well, Ashido's not much better. Ashido's also kind of arrogant here. But they're like, Principal Nezu is just a cute little polar bear, mouse, dog thing. We could take him out, no problem, right? So, I think he says something like, I can't really use my shock because we don't know where he's hanging out, but maybe you could just try to escape, or you use your acid or something. And I think Kaminari even mentions, like, you know, oh, we don't want to hurt him now. See, that's, you don't do that. The teachers not just sit your asses down before this practical exam and explain to you that we are going to be villains here. Alright, we're going to be wearing the restraints, we're going to be wearing the handcuffs and everything. We're not going to straight up try to kill you, but take this seriously. Do not treat this as a game. Do not treat this as just it's going to be an easy thing, because we're going to be coming at you with intent to stop you. Right after that, what do Kaminari and Ashido do? Well, let's better not hurt the principal too bad. We should just try to get a... You guys are freaking morons, okay? Treat this... You're trying to be heroes, treat it seriously for once. I mean, my god. End of exam freaking test. I mean, end of semester exam. I always mess that up. Like, come on, guys. Right? But anyway, yeah. They get screwed over by Nezu because Nezu is in a crane, and he has the high-spec quirk, which is basically, I'm a genius. And so he uses this crane to knock over a bunch of buildings and stuff to block their path, and just they end up getting captured in the debris, and they can't move, and then they lose. And they have to go to the supplemental lessons during the training camp arc. So, way to go, Kaminari! Ashido, you're also not that great, but way to go, Kaminari! Yeah. But okay, training camp arc. Here we have a situation where I think Kaminari was one of the students that, I don't think he was knocked out by the gas. I think he was one of the students that managed to just make it back to the lodge, and he stayed there, and he was under guard of Vlad King the entire time, along with, like, Sero and Ida. I don't think he really participated in the battle. I don't think he got knocked out at all, really. So that's with Kaminari there. It doesn't really do much. The training that he had to go through during the training camp before shit hit the fan was they basically hooked up him to a battery, so he's constantly sending out, like, voltage into the battery to contain it while he's trying to make sure that he doesn't go all simpleton, you know, just trying to discharge more and more electricity to increase his upper limit, right? So that was some cool training he had. Hideout raid arc doesn't really do anything. Not really until the provisional license exam. Oh, no, there's one scene before that, and that was the scene I was talking about at the dorms, okay? So as I said, Kaminari is kind of friends with Bakugo, but Kaminari also has a very loud mouth. Okay, he's very boisterous, he doesn't really think a lot before he says things. Kind of a pervert, although not on the same level as Mineta, but usually Kaminari is Mineta's little partner in crime here when it comes to trying to spy on the girls or anything like that, or he'll never object to it, really. But, yeah, so Kaminari finds out through Kirishima that Kirishima bought those night vision goggles to try to find Bakugo, you know, that night at Kamino, and then Kaminari goes and blabs it to Bakugo. It's like, hey, did you know Kirishima bought night vision goggles to come save you? Man, those are pretty expensive, huh? And so, when they were about to go into the dorms, first off, Bakugo grabs Kaminari, kind of shakes him down because Bakugo is just like, that's for being a blabbermouth, basically. That's for freaking distrusting your friends and just telling me this, obviously, without thinking first. Okay, I'm gonna shake you down. And then he goes all simpleton, you know, he discharges all his electricity. And then, that's when Jiro is, like, laughing and everything. And then Bakugo gives his money to Kirishima. Not Kaminari's. He doesn't shake him down for the money. He gives him his own money. Like, here, because you paid money for the night vision goggles. I don't want to be in debt to anybody. Now you don't owe me. me anything, basically. And I forgot to mention that during the Bakugo video, so I'm mentioning it now. Okay, cool. Alright, so I mentioned his room already. It's the trendy room, but now we get to the provisional license exam, okay, where Kaminari has another big moment. He has an entire chapter, really, that I reviewed in my brief tenure reviewing My Hero Academia chapters weekly, where I talked about this. Okay, so first thing is he, like a lot of the other students, he gets some modifications done to his costume. So his costume is a lot more practical rather than just being trendy, which you'd figure all costumes should be, right? Looking cool is part of the hero game, but you also have to use this, you know, your costume is, you have it on, you might as well do useful things, right? So, in order to better control his precision of his electricity, what Hatsume creates for him is this disc shooter gun. You know how it is, like I'm sure you had a toy of this when you were a kid that could shoot out like little foam discs at things, or like a disc gun or something. So it's that. The discs in particular will stick to a certain object or a person or a villain in this case. So he takes these out and shoots out these discs, and I think there's like 3 or 4 of them. And then these discs will stick to a villain. And then there's a dial on the little shooter, so he can set to like disc number 1, disc number 2, disc number 3. And then when he discharges his electricity, the electricity will go in a straight line from his shooter to whatever object the disc is placed to, okay? So he, you know, arrives at the scene, there's villains running around, let's just using the robbing a bank scenario. Oh, villains robbing the bank. Okay, here we go. Ping, 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 ping. Discs get stuck to the opponents. I'm sure they can't be peeled off very easily. Like, what the hell is this thing? And he's like, okay, number 2 has got the money, he's getting back to the van. Sets it to number 2, shocks him. Like, oh, number 3's over there. So, it's kind of rough, kind of, you know, of a, like, really a haphazard, like, ad hoc way to do this, because there's a lot of setup involved, right? You have to shoot the discs, and then you got to keep track of which disc is on which target, then you got to manually set the dial, but it is a more precise way to use his quirk. So hopefully, eventually, he'll be able to use his quirk in a way where he doesn't have to rely on the shooters and setting everything up. He can just, like, literally just like a gun, just fire off electrical bolts from his fingers at precise targets without worrying about shocking his allies. So that would be best case scenario, okay? But it was really cool during the chapter. He really kind of saved the day, because Bakugo and Kirishima were meatballed by that kid from Shiketsu High, and so he busted it. He has the cool glasses too, and the glasses are sort of like, I think the glasses serve as like a heads-up display in order to actually keep track of where each disc was placed, because you figure if he just shoots off the discs in the middle of combat, when they're running around, villains are running around and there's at a distance, you're not going to be able to keep track of like which disc is on which enemy unless they're like color-coded or something, but I don't believe they are. But I think the visor, the glasses he wears, actually like maybe has like a little, okay, that's number 1 is number 4 is attached to that guy, number 3 is that guy, okay, and that would be a good way. And then also you have to have the trouble of, after the fight is over, retrieving the discs and loading them back into your thing. So yeah, it's very kind of a rough and dirty way of doing it right now, but it definitely shows sign of improvement, okay? But yeah, so that's the situation there. Doesn't participate in the Chisake arc. Doesn't really do anything there. Cultural Fest, I believe he plays one of the guitars, I think. I'm pretty sure, because he's a trendy kid, so he has to. I might be wrong here. Yeah, but that's pretty much all we really got from Kaminari in terms of plot progression. He passes the provisional license exam, just like everybody else except for Todoroki and Bakugo. So he passes it, and he gets his license and everything, and we really haven't seen much from him since then. Okay, so now I think would be the best time to talk about, at the very end of the video, to talk about the traitor thing. Like, alright, most of the reasons why people consider him a traitor is, there's a few, but let's just go with the simple ones. Okay, he has a pretty powerful quirk. Alright, electricity, pretty powerful. If he turned traitor and Kaminari was a villain, fighting against somebody that has a quirk like that would be very threatening. And going along what I said earlier in the video, he might be pretending that his quirk is a lot weaker or has a lot more handicaps than it really does. If he's pretending with that whole short-circuit idiot thing, that would be brilliant. Would it not, on Horikoshi's part? Like, oh yeah, this handicap that you thought he had this whole time? And he actually has way better control of his quirk. He has a bunch of different techniques he can use with his quirk. Did you ever watch Static Shock? Hey, look, it's Static Shock. You know, that was a great show, okay? Kind of like that. If Kaminari could use his electric powers the way Virgil does in Static Shock, that would be very impressive. You know, one of my favorite moves that Static can use is the Static Cling, where if you have any opponent that's running on something metal, he can just, like, you send an electrical charge through that, and they're stuck to the metal. That something like that, if Kaminari could do that kind of shit, that'd be a very threatening quirk. In fact, I could see it now. I could see Kaminari turning traitor, and, like, all of his enemies, or there's, like, a scene where it's, like, Sasuke and Naruto or whatever, but a little bit more cool, where Kaminari is standing somewhere up high, and he's like, yeah, guys, I'm sorry, what can I say? Being a villain is just kind of trendy, you know? It's way more trendy than being a hero, and everybody in Class 1A is, we're gonna kick your ass, Kaminari! Damn it, we can't move! And it's like, yeah, that was just, you know, me using my electrical quirk. You know, I'm a little bit more adept at using it than you think. Anyway, peace out, guys. Later. And also, one of the first designs that Horikoshi came up with Kaminari is this. And I know you're going to think it looks a lot like Present Mike, but also looks a little bit more villainous. This was the original design for Kaminari. Now, I'm not saying that Horikoshi designed him to be like, oh, I'm going to make him be a villain, but I'm going to make him be a very... Because if you look at this character, you think, obviously, kind of a villain. But maybe when he was coming up with the design for Kaminari, he came up with first, and then he scrapped this, and then he drew his current design. And then he was thinking, wait a second. I'm going to make him look like a less of a villain, but wouldn't it be cool if he became a villain? Now, I want to show you something cool, alright? And this was something I didn't notice. This was totally something from 4chan. Like I said, I picked up a lot of this information from other sources, right? But, see this image here of Kaminari? Looks like just a normal sketch, don't it? Yeah, just a normal sketch, right? Yeah, Horikoshi that does the little in between the chapters. He draws the characters. Yeah, okay. Look at his face. And cut it in half, right down the center. Yeah! Yeah, kinda freaky. You will never be able to unsee this now. Okay, now, like I said, it could just be an artistic choice on Horikoshi's part. That's just the way he drew it. But... Okay. Also, and this was something that was brought up that I am just a little bit hesitant on as evidence, but the villains' Vanguard squad, they figured out where the training camp was being held, right? They found out that it was out in the mountains, guarded by the Pussycats. They found that location, okay? So somebody had to leak that information, okay? And now, it could have either been a student or a teacher. And by the way, I am still not against the idea of the traitor being a teacher. Horikoshi might have just thrown it out there that it could be possibly a student just to kind of, as a red herring, just to mess with us. I could see it going either way, because out of the main cast of 20 students, one of them turns out to be a villain. That would be a very clever way to go about it. But also the teachers, just to use that as a red herring, and then it turns out the teachers are actually, like, Principal Nezu. Just because he has that high-spec quirk, and he's smarter than, like, a human, that really messes with me. But you know what I'm saying, right? If it's not a teacher, though, it had to be a student that leaked the location of it. And people are saying because Kaminari has that perfect communication-based quirk, he could have, you know, synced up to the villains and used his quirk as, like, you know, like as a telecommunication, like a GPS or something, like, here we are, this is our location. The problem I have with that is that, you know, they could have gotten to the training camp, because none of the students knew where the training camp was located, but the students could have gotten to the training camp, and then one of them could have just snuck away, like if the traitor was, like, Hagakure, which I think Hagakure is not a traitor. I think she is just set up to be 100% a red herring, because she's the invisible girl, right? So, I'm pretty sure she's not the traitor. But, Hagakure could have just been like, hold on, guys, I gotta go to the bathroom, and then goes to the bathroom, and then, like, pulls out her cell phone and calls the villains and like, hey guys, yeah, our location is here, the latitude and the longitude. This is the location of the training camp. Okay, bye, click. Why couldn't they have done that? I don't think it was it stated they didn't have cell phone reception out in the boonies? I think they did. Maybe they didn't, but that's my one problem with that. You know, why, okay, well, yeah, Kaminari could have used his communication quirk to inform the villains. I'm like, well, yeah, any of the students could have snuck away and pulled out their phones and called the villains if they were really the traitors. Same thing with the teachers, too. But, well, the teachers knew where it was located beforehand. You know, if it was, like, Principal Nezu, he knew where it was at before it was even revealed to the students, so, yeah. In terms of, like, other options on who could be the traitor, I definitely don't think it's going to be, like, Hagakure, like I said, or Sato, or Koda. I don't think it's going to be any student that we haven't really had a lot of time with yet. Because imagine if it's like, it turns out the villain, the traitor, was Sato this whole time, and be like, oh, the sugar guy. Okay, like, we've spent, like, no time with him whatsoever, we don't really know much about him. Okay, he's the traitor. It would just be lame, you know? It reminds me of, like, okay, I'm a big fan of The Simpsons. I know, weird reference, but just go with it. I'm a big fan of The Simpsons, okay? I love The Simpsons growing up, and I haven't watched it in many years because it's been shit for many years. But one of the things that The Simpsons did to try to gain more, like, oh, we're still relevant, is, I remember a few seasons back, it might have been last season, they said that they were going to kill off a member of the cast. A member of Springfield is gonna die. And that's like one of the things you do when you're like, oh man, we're out of ideas, we need to come up with something. But it piqued my interest for a little while, but then I thought, like, they're not gonna kill off anybody important. They're not gonna kill off a Pooh or Chief Wiggum or anybody that's relevant to the story. You know who they ended up killing off? Krusty the Clown's dad. Rabbi Hyman Kostovsky. That's who they ended up killing off. Oh yeah, yeah. He was such a freaking cornerstone to the Simpsons universe. I cannot believe you killed off Hyman Kostovsky. So that's what it would be like, though. It'd be like, all these students, who's the traitor? Oh, it's Coda. Okay. We don't really know much about Coda. Now, if it was Momo, or if it was Tsuyu, or Uraraka, that would be a big deal. And Kaminari, I think Kaminari works there. I think we've spent enough time with Kaminari. We've gotten to feel like his relationships with the other students. Like I said, his quirk would be very useful if he was a villain. To actually use as a threat against the others. You know, if he was really learned how to, like, fine-tune it and everything. If it was all a lie. So, yeah, I think Kaminari being the traitor, if it's a student, I think that's a very, a good way to go about it. I don't think there's a lot of major problems with that. I think it could work on a lot of levels. But once again, it might not even be a student. Horikoshi could be screwing with us. It could be a Class 1B student. That would be kind of lame, but you know what I mean. All right, well, anyway, that's the situation with Kaminari. That was his quirk, and that was his, you know, his idea that he's the traitor or whatever. Oh, and before I forget, because it seems like I forget every single time, I rank Kaminari as number 10. I think putting him right in the middle is an appropriate place for him, you know, and that also kind of works as like a teeter-totter in case he does turn out to be a villain. But yeah, right now I think number 10 for Kaminari, that's a fair spot for him for my personal favorite Class 1A kids. Not really much of a long video, but coming off of Bakugo's, which was over an hour long, this one wasn't going to be nearly as long. But now my favorite part of the videos has finally come. It's time to roll a D20. Alright, chart time. Gotta pull up the chart here. Chart, okay. Let's see, how many do we have left at this point, just to add some suspense? Okay, we got number 2, Ashido. Number 3, Tsuyu. Number 4, Ida. Number 5, Uraraka. I'm cool with Uraraka, too. I'm cool with Ochakos. 6 is Ojiro. That's not going to be a long video. 8 is Kirishima. 9 is Koda. 10 is Sato. 11 is Shoji. Let's see here. 15 is Todoroki. 16 is Hagakure. 18 is Deku. And 19 is Mineta. That's the ones we have left. Alright. Go! Roll! D20! Now! Rollin'. 16. Who's that? Hagakure! And just as I stated, Invisible Girl is next. How am I gonna do that video? Am I gonna turn myself invisible? I don't know if I have the budget for that. Like, if this was like a big-time Hollywood production, maybe? I don't know if I could do that. I'll do my best. I'll try to get something to work. Maybe I could buy one of those full green screen, like, body suits, and maybe I can make that work somehow. Man, chroma keying is such a pain in the ass. Okay, we'll see where it goes, but next episode is going to be Toru Hagakure. It's actually kind of cool, because we got a bonus chapter involving her recently, so we actually got a little bit more about her backstory than normally, but not going to be probably a very long video, but yeah, Invisible Girl will be next. Also, in case you don't know, she's got really large invisible